Okay, let's do a quick review before we proceed. So far, we have established the following principles. 1. It is in the investor's best interest and desirable to the sponsor for the sponsor to be rewarded with net cash flow disproportionate to the share of cash equity they contributed. 2. This is accomplished through fees to the sponsor and disproportionate cash flow splits that are achieved using promotes and tiers. Now the question becomes, how does one isolate cash flows within a tier? If we can isolate dollars that are responsible for the achievement of each level of investment performance, as measured by an IRR hurdle or an equity multiple hurdle, we can measure the dollars and then split them properly. To isolate the base and incremental dollar amounts that are attributed to each tier of investment performance, we need to make sure that we truly understand the nature of the IRR calculation. The first question to ask is, what is the IRR if we were to invest $100 and not get it back? This IRR is infinitely negative because the calculus cannot provide us with a positive value since we did not get a return whatsoever, not even of the initial investment. The second question to ask is, what is the IRR if we invest $100 and only get $100 back? By definition, only receiving our capital back and not getting any return on that capital whatsoever will result in a 0% IRR. The third question to ask is, what does it mean when we have a positive IRR? We need to understand that the IRR is driven by the cumulative effect of all cash flows through the period of IRR measurement. So if we end up with an IRR of 18.32%, that means that the transaction also achieved all internal rates of return less than 18.32%. For example, let's take a 60-month condominium development transaction that achieves an overall project-level equity IRR of 25%. As we see in the bottom graph, the transaction's IRR in fact progresses through the entire range of IRRs starting with 0% and then ultimately plateaus at 25%. This incremental progression through the range of IRRs less than 25% is driven by each incremental dollar of equity cash flow as it is generated by the transaction. With that concept in hand, we now turn back to our original example, which was the $100 investment and eventual $140 in net cash flow.